So when I was in my unhealthy relationship, prior to being the life coach and founder of whatisperfection.com that I am today, I had probably one of the most difficult times recognizing that my relationship was really, really unhealthy, and it was. I felt constantly like I was walking on thin ice, like I didn't know what to say or how to say it, like I was saying the wrong thing all the time, but for some reason I wasn't trying to. It was just always coming out misunderstood. I felt like whatever I did to prove my love to my partner, that I wasn't being enough, that I wasn't doing enough, that I wasn't sacrificing enough. And suddenly I woke up months into my unhealthy relationship in a state of shock, looking back on who I was before the relationship, feeling like, oh my God, who am I? This is not who I am. I feel weak, I feel disconnected, I feel at rock bottom, I feel worthless. I never felt these things about myself before. How did this happen? It happened because I was living in a fear-based relationship, an emotionally unhealthy relationship. And that's what I'm talking about today with you guys. So for those of you who don't know me, who have just joined this community group, I just want to take a minute to introduce myself. My name's Lauren Liz, and I'm the founder of whatisperfection.com. And I teach women how to find and craft the art of happiness in their life, how to feel good about who they are, pick up the pieces, and not just in a complex sort of fairy tale way. I'm talking about giving you guys the concrete tools and resources to find that courage, to find the strength, to repair your life, rebuild, find happiness, and be the perfect version of yourself that you truly deserve to be. So today we're going to be talking about this one big obstacle that so many of us face, overcoming those unhealthy relationships. So first of all, what is an emotionally abusive relationship, right? What is a fear-based relationship? So many of us find ourselves in these relationships, but identifying them becomes very difficult for us. Because when you're in an abusive relationship, there are physical signs of that, right? There are bruises, there is trauma, there are, visits to hospitals, and when you're in an emotionally abusive relationship, finding those red flags becomes a little bit more blurry. It's hard to see the evidence sometimes that you're in a situation like that. So how do we figure it out? How do we recognize if we're in a fear-based relationship or if we are in a healthy relationship? Well, ready? I'm about to blow your mind. Get out a pen and paper. Start writing down this list. This is a big component of my course, Broken to Beautiful. If you have not looked at that program, we are now open for wait list. So if this is something that you're interested in, go check it out and put your name on that list. We have not announced our course open date for 2017, so you want to jump on that list as soon as possible. So this part of Broken to Beautiful, where I help girls recognize the strategies of their unhealthy relationships, I'm going to blow your mind by telling you that whether or not your relationship is good for you, you're in it because it's fulfilling your human needs. It is somehow fulfilling you. Now, in a good way or a bad way, totally different answers here compared to a healthy relationship fulfilling us to an unhealthy relationship fulfilling us. But when you're in a relationship, it is providing you a sense of gratification in maybe a twisted way in this case to fulfill your 6 human needs. So what are those human needs? I've talked about them so many times. This is the art of fulfillment. This is how all human beings operate. These are the things that make us feel complete in our life. It's the need to feel loved, the need to feel significant, which are 2 different things, guys. The need for certainty and the need for variety, the need for growth, and the need for contribution. Now you're probably looking at that list saying, well, these are all wonderful things, Lauren. These are all great values. My relationship doesn't feel good to me. My relationship probably doesn't fill these human needs. Yeah, you bet your butt it does. I'm gonna break this down for you. So here's how we recognize whether this relationship is fulfilling us in an unhealthy, fear-based way, or if our relationship is fantastic. We're gonna focus on that first one that I mentioned, those unhealthy relationships, because I want you guys to get clear about the fact that these relationships are not serving you. These relationships are not bringing you the happiness and full fulfillment that you deserve in your life. And we cannot take the steps to heal our hearts like I do with that 30-day program, Broken to Beautiful. We can't do that until we at least at first recognize that maybe we are not in a healthy relationship. We got to get clear about that, guys. So here's the first way. Fear-based relationships. Let me just first start by saying this. Everything that we are scared of doing, everything that holds us back from being the people that we are, comes down to two fears. It's either the fear of not being loved or the fear of not being enough. And if you're living your life in an unhealthy relationship, those emotions come out constantly. I hope I'm pulling some red flags for you guys. I hope you're realizing here, oh my gosh, I always feel like I'm never good enough. I always feel like I'm not capable of being loved. That's a fear-based relationship. That is a sign, clear warning sign of an unhealthy relationship, guys, because your relationship is supposed to provide you a sense of security and safety. And if it's triggering the two solid emotions that are based on fear, not being enough and not being loved, we had a really big problem, guys. So that's the first step. Really look at that and ask yourself, am I feeling fear on a regular basis in my relationship? Am I feeling like I'm not enough? No matter what I do, I'm not good enough. You know, that expression I gave at the beginning of this video, walking on ice all the time, being scared to speak your mind, feeling like no matter what you do to please your partner, it's never good enough. These are really big fear-based mentalities, guys. We got to recognize them for what they are. So once you establish that, you might not be 100% clear just by looking at those fear-based mindsets. But when you go through the human needs, here's what I want you to do. Pay attention to how your relationship fulfills your 6 human needs. We're going to start with love, okay? Does your love in this relationship feel like something that you need to do something to receive? Feel like something you need to fight for constantly? Does it feel like you need to be a certain version of yourself in order to receive the love that you deserve? Or is it something that you don't need to do anything for, that's just given naturally? Love is a right. It's not something that we need to fight for. And if you're struggling to feel it because you feel like you need to be a certain version of yourself or do certain things or act perfect, big red flag. If your relationship makes you feel significant because you are constantly feeling insignificant, whoa, Lauren, what does that mean? Okay, first of all, if your relationship does not provide you a sense of significance as if you're important or valuable or worth something, your relationship could be making you feel significant by making you feel like a piece of shit. You know, there's something wrong with you that you can't provide your husband love. There's something wrong with you that you can't give him what he needs. There's something wrong with you that you cannot be that perfect version of yourself that he is just dying to have. In some twisted way, that is making you feel significant because it's making you feel like the problem is you, right? If you feel like the problem is you in your relationship, if you feel like you're doing something wrong, like you're not being enough, first of all, go put yourself on the wait list for the 30-day program, Broken to Beautiful. It's on the website. But second of all, if you're digging in deep and trying to solve interior problems like in your heart because you're not being who you think your partner needs, that is not the significance that you deserve in a healthy relationship at all. So let's move on to those next 2 human needs. We've talked about love. We've talked about significance. I'm going to share with you guys the certainty and the uncertainty that are so real. These are real big red flags that you can recognize if you're in an unhealthy relationship. Every person is fulfilled by a sense of certainty in our life, right? Like, I want to know when I walk into my house that the heat's going to work because I paid the bills. I know I want to have food on the table. I know I want to know that my husband's always going to love me. These are certain senses of certainty that we rely on in our relationship. But if your relationship, if your sense of certainty is, I'm certain I'm never going to do anything right. I'm certain that when he gets home, he's going to flip a shit. I'm certain that he's not going to be happy when I tell him how much I spent at the store today or that we're having a financial problem. I'm certain that he's going to flip out about dinner not being good enough or ask me a million questions about where I was Saturday night. If you're certain about those things, and if your sense of variety is the chaos and the headache and the stress and the fighting and the anger and the resentment and the grief and the crying and the screaming, those two human needs have been so twisted in your relationship. This is a big sign of a fear-based relationship. If your variety in life is the fights and the ups and downs, you know, we talk about like that emotional roller coaster of an unhealthy relationship. If that's your variety, if your sense of certainty is fear, stress, anger, boom, red flag, unhealthy relationship, guys. And I'm not saying this to make you guys feel bad. I'm not saying this to put you in a place of anger. I'm putting you in a place to be knowledgeable and informed about your own emotional worth, what you deserve, what you long for, and how what you're actually struggling with right now and being in this community group and listening to this video is something that you should be struggling with, because these are not healthy signs. And it's okay if you don't recognize them. I'm here to help you. This is what my coaching tools and resources are all about, giving you guys the emotional knowledge you need to uncover these things. But the last two human needs here are growth and contribution. And I wanted to save these two for last because they're so important to our overall happiness, right? If we're not growing, we're dying. This is an expression I use all the time. But if you feel like your relationship has stopped growing, if you feel like that growth of who you want to be is being held back and is stagnant from your partner or from the relationship that you're in, it's always worth evaluating whether or not that's an issue within yourself or within the relationship. But usually it's within the relationship because we're in a team, we're in a community group, right? One-on-one with our partner trying to solve problems in our life. And if you feel like you can't grow into the person you want to be because of your relationship, you may be living in a fear-based mentality. And when I talk about contribution we talk about in relationships a lot, right? Because when we think of relationships, we think of things like, oh, we need to be selfless. We need to unconditionally love. We need to give, right? Especially as women, this is something we think all the time. But the problem is when you're contributing so much that there's nothing left in you, and you feel empty and you feel like you're giving all the time and receiving nothing back, it creates this complete off balance of your life. So imagine going to a grocery store and contributing all of your money to buy your first meal in forever. This is just an analogy. And you take out 10 cents and they say, no, that's not enough. And then you take out 20 cents and it's not enough. You take out $1, you take out $2, $5, $10. All of a sudden, you have nothing left in your purse. And you've put all this money on the counter begging for a meal. And he just looks at you and says, I'm sorry, that's not enough. If you're living your life like that for love, that is a horrible thing. Giving and giving and giving, hoping to receive the nourishment that you need and not getting anything back. Why? Why do we stay? It's because we don't recognize that these things that I just explained to you guys and broke down are the warning signs of an unhealthy relationship. They are not the warning signs that you need to fix something in yourself. They are not the warning signs that your relationship needs an intensive amount of therapy and a problem-solving solution like a magical fairy poof. They are the warning signs that maybe this relationship needs to be evaluated and reconsidered. Maybe this is a relationship that you need to walk away from in order to be the person that you're meant to be.